Greetings swingers and welcome to episode 9 of the Electro Swing Podcast, brought to you by Electro Swing Thing and hosted by me, Offbeat. This week I'm joined by Electro Swing pioneers Bart and Baker. The Parisian duo have been working together for over 20 years and in that time have released over 400 tracks, curated the highly acclaimed Electro Swing Party compilations and remixed some of the biggest artists in the scene, including Parov Stelar, Caravan Palace and Caro Emerald. In this interview, we dive into all of this, as well as their upcoming album Bart and Baker International, the legacy project for Baker's musically famous mother, and a whole lot more, as you'd expect from such a long and distinguished career. So sit back and enjoy the latest episode of the Electro Swing Podcast with the iconic duo Bart and Baker. Gentlemen, Mr. Bart and Baker, welcome to the Electro Swing Podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much for being on. It's a real honour to have you guys. So first of all, I guess, can you tell us who's who? Which one of you is Bart and which one of you is Baker?
So I'm Bart. I'm Baker. I'm Baker and this is Bart.
Yeah,
okay.
And together we're Bart and Baker.
Awesome.
Do you want to know where our names come from?
I think I do, but for people listening, it'd be great for them to hear. So yeah, where do the names come from?
So, Mr. Baker.
My name, because my mother, she was a big friend of Josephine Baker. Mm. And when I was young, Josephine Baker wants to adopt a lot of children. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to adopt me. Yeah. My mother said no. Yeah. And so I took her name for this reason.
She was very modern because she has this idea of adopting children from all over the world to do a rainbow family.
And he's Bart.
And when we met, and I come to this later, I was into the Simpson family.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Big fan of it. Mm-hmm. And because I'm always doing many things at the same time, a bit speedy. He told me you like Bart from the Simpsons.
Like Bart Simpson. Okay. So for the people who may not be familiar with your work already, can you just describe what kind of music you make in a nutshell?
It's obviously mainstream electro swing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't go for niche. We go for things that can really transcendent audiences. That my mom or your mom or someone young can listen. And probably people say we have songs that make people happy because we try to have this, I would say, happiness factor in it.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople, been a long time gone. Oh, Constantinople, still is Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople, been a long time gone. Oh, Constantinople, still is Turkish delight. Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople, been a long time gone. Oh, Constantinople, still is Turkish delight on a moonlit night.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys first met and started working together?
Sure. So we met on a record digging fair.
Yep.
This is where we met, and he made my education about jazz music because he's got a huge collection. And myself introduced him to electronic music, and he enjoyed what I presented to him. And we wanted to remain friends, and then the idea of playing music together became a reality. I was a DJ myself, and he was just passing me the vinyl on my back.
So you guys almost like the personification of electro swing. Like Bart, you're into electronic music, and Baker, you're into jazz music, and then you guys met and fused the two together.
We have.
That's like you're like if electro swing was people.
I think so. Yeah, I think this is why probably we still have fun to do it. And we still are active. We have an intellectual relationship between one traditional jazz fan and one electronic passionate, and this makes us challenging each other and trying to do things.
Brilliant! It's amazing. What a great combination. And when did you meet?
I think in before 2000, 1998.
Wow, 1998. Okay.
But it took years to create the brand Bart and Baker.
When was that created?
I think it was 2005 or 2006.
Right. Wow. So 20 years ago, man.
And our first real production was in 2011.
Okay.
So we did a work on Istanbul.
Yeah, that's like your most famous track, right?
It's not a very sophisticated production, but it works very well, and people still love it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
this
often
is
the
the
case,
first
isn't
one.
it? Sometimes the simplest things are the most effective.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, enduring track. That's what we are. Enduring people with enduring track.
So you started DJing together as Bart and Baker around 2005, 2006, and then you started producing your own songs from around 2011.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The story about starting, if you're interested to know how we did,
Yeah.
we were reading the same column every week in an influential newspaper in France with a club column. A guy was reviewing all the best parties, and he was like a personality. He's still a personality because he curates again a few festivals in France. And I saw his name. I managed to get his detail, and we recorded a tape or a CD? No, a CD.
A CD.
Yeah.
We burnt a CD with a selection of track. We sent it to him, and we said, "Do you think this kind of playlist would work in a club?" And he didn't answer yet because he's a very busy guy. He's called Edouard Rostand, so I give his name so maybe he can share the interview. And we're very good friend. He's been our manager, and we love him to death.
Cool.
He very kindly sent us an email and say, "I like what you do. I've got a new club. I need to put people in, and you look like you fit the picture." We met in the club, and we became the resident of this club as a starter. With all the difficult conditions you may know as a DJ, basically.
We start Thursday and little by little.
No, we started Tuesday.
Tuesday.
He was putting us on the worst night of the week, telling us that if you don't get people coming and we don't make money, then you're not coming back next week.
Right.
So at the time, we did anything we could with any means we had to get a community growing around us, especially the swing dancers, but not only the swing dancers. And every week we had a better audience, so we pushed us to Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, not weekend, because weekend was more mainstream. But we had to gain every week or authorization to come the week after. And then we moved from clubs to bigger clubs till the Moulin Rouge Club. And we played in most of the club in Paris.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. So you kind of worked your way up from the bottom, having on a Tuesday night, having to get people through the door until you got to the Moulin Rouge. So one of the things that you guys are most well known for, and I think probably the first encounter that I had with you, is the Electro Swing compilation. So when I first got into Electro Swing, I saw these compilations, and that's how I discovered a lot of artists. So can you tell us the story behind those, how those came about, and just any information about those?
So first, Bart Baker didn't invent the Electro Swing theory, to be very transparent with you. The first volume was actually put out by Vagram, using their internal staff. And because we had met with Olivier from Vagram and done the Swing Party compilation, he told us, but why don't you guys now move to the Electro Swing theory? We have done a number one volume that sold, I think, 100,000 copies or something like that. That was incredible because Caravan Palace had made such a big numbers of sales with the album that it was really something that Vagram wanted to keep as a treasure. So the way we work with Vagram is that he asked us to dig into anything that was more or close to electro swing, whatever it's hip hop, what you do actually. We call swing up now, swing up tracks, electronic tracks, even music from people that don't label it electro swing, but that can be integrated into the electro swing genre. So basically, we use our extended network, sometimes not very traditional, because we know people in very different field of music, which I think has the interest for making compilation with the open spirit and rich content. What's good when you're dealing a compilation is that you're here to pay tribute to people, to thank people for doing like you do your hard work. The principle of the compilations for us is that you don't have to use a compilation as a way of pressuring people or having power to people. This is more, please, can you give us a track because we want to make a super compilation where we need you to have in it, you know. And if you believe those principles, and if you really love the artist more than the project itself, then you can make something that people can feel is, I would say, full of love for the music and the community.
So how many of those compilations did you guys work on?
I think there are many, probably about 20, because you have the Electro Swing series that went until Electro Swing 8.
Right.
Then there was Electro Swing Fever. There's been Electro Swing New Generation.
Yeah.
There's been Electro Swing Tribute. So yeah, around 20 projects.
So yeah, obviously you've got a huge amount of music that you've made, your own music, the compilations that we just talked about, but you've also done a lot of remixes for big artists in the electro swing scene. So Parov Stelar, and it wouldn't be the Electro Swing podcast if his name didn't get mentioned at some point either, because I think it gets mentioned every episode so far. So Parov Stelar, Caravan Palace, Caro Emerald, you've remixed as well.
Papini Sisters.
Yeah, the Papini Sisters.
And Scott
Bradley. The cream of the electro swing world. So do you have any particularly memorable experiences or stories from any of those remixes that you can share?
Well, the experience we have is obviously when we met the people, and this is happy about the work. It happened with Caro Emerald because we opened to Caro Emerald at the Olympia, which is like Hammersmith Apollo in Paris, you know, huge. We did a DJ set before she was on stage, and she I think she was waiting for baby at the time. She was pregnant, and she came to say hello, and she said she was very happy about the remix.
Awesome.
That's a good memory. Papini Sisters, we're very good friends with Marcella and the girls, so I've got stories, and we love working together. We were contacted by Scott Bradley himself for the remixes because he was a big fan. Awesome. I was very impressed because we loved what he did, and we did 2 remixes for him. He took time to thank us, and we made him a different show. And for Caravan, I remember a funny story because the first track we did for remixing them was a mix between a dragon and cocaine.
Okay.
If you remember, we were not super good technician. We just did a mix between the 2 tracks, and they came out with a funny name of drag queen.
Right, cool.
They cut dragons and they drag cocaine and they make drag queen.
Yeah, clever.
So they're very good in finding good names.
So we're going to move on to your new album, because you guys have got one coming out, which you sent me before the interview and I got a chance to listen to. So thank you for that. Can you just tell us in your own words what the album's called, what it's about? Yeah,
so I would say to be talking about one of my friends, Wolfgang Lohr, who's been releasing an album like 3 weeks ago, which I love. It's a bit like for Wolfgang. He's been releasing a few tracks all over the years. And at a certain time when there are many tracks that make a story, you want to make like an album to just, make it together as a narration. And our work on the latest 5 or 6 years has been around exploring some world music style that for us is at the roots of jazz. If you take to sum up the style of music beyond jazz, you can say it's a mix of Eastern Europe melodies with the rhythm of Africa. But in between, you have the Caribbean, you have the South American, you have a lot of different styles that have been
that's such a good description.
Flourishing around jazz. So our belief is that you can talk about electro swing, but because electro swing is using a lot of jazz, why not pushing it a bit more in the vintage and going to more ancient thing and try to make the family bigger. So this is why Bart Baker International would include the traditional electro swing track, but we have put some bossa nova with a bit of electronic. We have put traditional Ukrainian song that we have done. It's one of the new track with a swing band from Ukraine.
And what's that band called?
Mind Blowing Orchestra.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite tracks off the album when I listen to it.
so the exclusive are the 2 version of Possession Obsession, which came after a conversation with a burlesque lady who wanted to sing with us. So she's called Eva Delis. And I even recorded a version with my vocal. So my version closed the album.
Okay.
And her version opens the album.
You know there's something you need right here and now to fill the space inside of yourself. Whoa, with money, love, or power. When you want to have the number one, first one, anyone, you're crazy till you want them. You ought to know better than that, girl. The more that you buy, the less you get back.
And so what's the album called?
It's called Bart Baker International. Not because we're becoming Trump and we are an international corp, but because it's the more international albums that Bart Baker could put out, because it's welcoming any language and any style of music around jazz and swing to be at a party together.
Awesome. And when does that album come out?
The album should be released between end of May and early June.
Okay. And last question about your own music then. I only learned about this recently, but you guys are in the process of creating some legacy work for Mr. Baker's mum.
Yes, because my mother was a musician, was a pianist coming from Suriname. Suriname is the Dutch colony in South America. And she left Suriname when she was 16 years old to work at the Conservatory of Amsterdam to be a pianist concertist. And after she began a very at that time a very famous pianist concertist, because she was dressing in a sari and playing classical music. So it impressed everybody. But after the war arrived, and after some time, she said, "I don't want to be anymore a pianist concertist. It's too stupid. I want to compose." So she came in France, in Paris, to learn composition with Nadia Boulanger. And
Nadia Boulanger, if you can imagine, she's the one who taught composition to Astor Piazzolla, the Tango King, to Quincy Jones.
Wow.
So Mamie Works came in France at the beginning of the 1950, and she composed, etc. And then she married my father. He was a Frenchman, and then she stopped a little bit music. She composed. She continued to compose, and she composed a lot of an opera. She composed an oratorio, etc. And in the years of 17, the
London connection, the Beatles went to India to record some, more influenced music, and a record company in Paris, CBS, branch of the International,
Europe,
wanted to have their own artist doing this kind of new sound of India sound.
She made the first album called New Sound of India, and after she made a second album called Requiem for Mahatma Gandhi, and then the third is an extrait of
called The Passion According to Judas, which is a part of the opera she wrote and which is beginning to be performed in her native land of Suriname. And this is the album that has a more, I would say, appeal to DJ, because it's got some very revolutionary jazz fusion, and we're very proud to release in the fall 2 completely reworked versions of 2 tracks of the album with the Bart Baker touch, which for us is kind of closing the circle to all of work before we started. All 3 have been released now on streaming, so you can find it on any platform. There's a vinyl reissue you can buy on Bandcamp, thanks to a label in Portugal that sells the vinyl reissue of the most legendary one. We have a remix compilation done by a few DJ coming up next month. And we have 2 official Bart Baker featuring my Joya Jari track coming out in the fall.
And if DJ wants to take
I think we're not very active, but maybe you can pass on the message to the podcast.
Yeah.
Any DJ that want to have an end of any of her work can contact us, and they can do whatever they want with.
Find so many sounds in this 3 albums.
She has a very rich musical world, and if you listen to the 3 albums, you will be surprised at how many different shades of sound you can find. They're very different, but the good thing is that because we are looking after the heritage, we can allow people to work on.
You can grant the permission. That's amazing, and I mean, I'm sure DJs will want to take you up on that because everyone's always looking for fresh new samples to work with, and it sounds like there's going to be a very rich pickings to choose from there. So great, awesome. I'd like to talk more broadly about the electro swing scene as a whole. You guys have been around since pretty much the beginning, it sounds like. So my first question is, how have you seen it change over the years?
I mean, you have to be honest, there are less events happening in Europe than happened a few years ago. Probably electro swing is played in some parties, but maybe not branded as electro swing parties. You know, like we have friends who work on the burlesque circuit. They would put some electro swing music as part of, I would say, mid show during a burlesque evening. But full branded electro swing party, there are not many, in my opinion. Probably they are mixed with what you call the Gatsby events. And even in Gatsby event, you have more chances, and it's good for you to play hip hop. Sometimes traditional hip hop and maybe a bit of swing up.
And what are your thoughts on the current state of the scene? Not just the event side of things, but the actual music that people are making. What do you think at the moment?
Well, I see that what Wolfgang does with electro swing thing and his own release is done in a very passionate way, and I think he has a very rich portfolio of artists. We received Ragtime release, which we liked as well. I see Emily is doing a lot of stuff. That we have actually a track we need to finish with her.
Oh, cool.
So if Emily, you hear me on the podcast, we're not forgetting on you. We're going to do it.
She's another person like Parov Stelar that gets mentioned almost every episode.
Yes. And you have what Nick Hollywood does, which is very interesting. So the label seems to be all around. Parties, I see there are less parties than before. I think it's all about passionate people doing passionate music for passionate listeners, you know. And hopefully, if you take all example, the fact that we are able to sell our music online on the digital platform makes us having a bit of a music revenue that make us able to think about new projects.
So the last bit of the interview then, it's the quickfire round. So what is the one thing in your career that you're most proud of, either creatively or commercially?
So creatively, we would say working with Clementine and Selena Jones, because we created a universe and some tracks for them. Commercially, working with the Manhattan Transfer and Scott Bradley. Scott Bradley made us being a huge up to our fans in the world. Yeah. Because he shared every account of Bart Baker to his fans, so I was wonderful. Cool. And yes, Baker is right. We did a remix of the Cancan from French Cancan from Moulin Rouge, and it was released on the year of the Euro football and played on the stadium by David Guetta. Yeah. And we had 300,000 streams in a month. Decreasing after, but this kind of stuff are, remember. Cool. And he's been played on TV, national TV, with the Fireworks of Paris.
Awesome.
So listening to your French Cancan remix in Electro Swing with fireworks over the Eiffel Tower on national TV is something that is quite interesting.
That's pretty special, man, yeah. And what would you say the biggest challenge that you faced has been?
Yes, first, more on a commercial basis, our first label went bankrupt. So that was hard to deal, but finally we became our own publishers. So from a bad story have happened more control on our works. And we had to decline some collaboration with people we liked because the split in publishing was not what we expected.
Right.
So it's always sad when you have to tell someone that you don't really believe that taking you 80% of the share of the music you write is not the way you were thinking about the collaboration. So
Yeah. Doesn't sound like much of a collaboration.
you try
does
to not do a lot of
80%.
business, but you need sometimes to read the figures and the contract.
Yeah.
And sometimes contract cannot always look like the person you've been thinking you'll be working with. So.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting take. So if you guys could go back in time to 2005 to when you first started working together as Bart and Baker, what advice would you give those versions of yourselves?
I think the lesson we learned and the lesson we can share with people is that try to find a community very early when you start doing music. Try to understand who's doing the parties, who's designing the artwork. I mean, anything related to a genre you like, go out, meet people, try to understand how you could fit in the picture and collaborate and try to be collective.
Cool. Great advice. Yeah. So obviously you've got a lot of tracks to choose from. You said you've got over 400. Is there any one particular song you can think of that didn't get the kind of recognition that you think it deserved and that we could direct people to go and listen to now?
Well, I think the track we did in French and English called Why Does Love Always End Up With Tears? It started as a ballad. It's got, for me, lyrics that I think we both agree with. And we have a French and English version, and both have been shot on a music video with different style. We recommend people to listen to it.
Okay, cool. Why Does Love Always End in Tears? That's what it's called, yeah? Okay, great. Thank you. So now, if you guys could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, your dream collaboration, who would that be?
For me, it was Sammy Davis Jr. Because I have all his records. I saw him in the Olympia in Paris. It was incredible, this concert. And it's Shirley Bassey. I was a Shirley Bassey fan. And I think she had been remixed by now good remixer.
Yes. Shirley Bassey has done some very great remix albums, and I would have been so happy if at the time we would have been famous and she would have requested a track.
Okay, so are those just your choices, Baker, but do you have different choices?
You will be surprised, but I'm a big fan of Fred again.
Okay.
I've been following this guy for many years. We've been seeing on live last year. He's very big now, but I have a huge respect for his work as a producer.
Okay. Is there anything outside of music that your fans would be interested to learn about you?
Yeah, personally, I'm a huge movie fan, which means that I can see around 10 movies a week.
Wow.
I'm going to follow the Cannes Movie Festival, and I will see probably 20 movies from the Cannes Film Festival. We've played at the Cannes Film Festival a few times. So huge passion for movies, not mainstream movies, mostly independent movies and what we call world cinema. Probably the passion of Mr. Baker is to try to manage to see all the latest jazz legends. Like when we are the chance to go to Japan. We're going to Japan this summer.
Helen Mirren, she's a white lady and she's
singing like a black jazz singer.
A black singer. And as we say in jazz, she has no voice, but it's so incredible when she sings that she can do a lot of things.
Yes.
Last question. Any words for your fans?
Well, thank you, because we don't try to be, I would say, hypocrite and whatever, but we really love to meet people at events, so they come to see us. Obviously,
we're so happy to saw them smiling and be happy with our music and during our set. So
we never deceived by meeting in person of fans, and they say that they are rarely deceived to meet us in person because we seem to be in real life what we try to transmit in music. So
Yeah, I would say that. Like I've not met you guys before this conversation, and you kind of lived up to my expectations. You're both very friendly, very fun to chat to, very passionate about music, and that's exactly what comes across in your music. So you are like the real life versions of what I imagined.
thank you.
thank you.
Cool.
But
Okay.
thank
Well,
you, thank you to the fans, and we love getting email or comments. So you can give our email address at the end of the interview,
okay.
which is contact@bartandbaker.com. They can send us whatever request they want. They can send us music for a radio show because we have a radio show on jazz radio for about 12 years. So basically, any electro swing artist that want to have their track played on our radio show, we're more than happy to receive the track by email. And they're going to be on the national French jazz radio every Saturday from 11 to 1 o'clock, and we can play that track.
Amazing. So that's contact@bartandbaker.com.
Contact@bartandbaker.com. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm sure people will take you up on that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap things up there. So, guys, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to chat to you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too.
So that was episode 9 of the Electro Swing Podcast with the iconic duo Bart and Baker. If you don't already follow them, links to their music and social media accounts can be found in the description. As mentioned in the interview, if you want to contact them directly to get your music played on French radio, to sample Baker's mum's work, or just to say hello, they would welcome an email, and the address is also included in the description. Finally, if you don't already follow us, please do so at Electro Swing Podcast on all platforms, and I'll be back in another 2 weeks for episode 10 of the Electro Swing Podcast. I've been Offbeat. Thank you for tuning in.